discussing the proposed amendment. I think there are several issues that I don't want to say are being steamrolled, but that I don't know that are getting fair consideration in this conversation. First off, I don't support fracking myself. I think that it's clear. I mean, everybody in this room was pretty convincing and unanimous in the evils and dangers involved in fracking, and that is not. So I don't want any of my comments to follow to be confused with a support of fracking. That being said, there's basically seems to be three significant issues that have been brought up. Fracking in the town of Amherst, the disposal of fracking waste at the water pollution control facility, and the use of brine on roads in the town of Amherst. As far as fracking in Amherst, I understand that the town does in fact include part of the Utica Shale, and I was told a thin layer of the Marcellus Shale. So I suppose technically it's possible to do hydraulic fracturing in the town of Amherst, but my understanding is that it's not particularly economically viable to do it based on the limited level of shale involved. Furthermore, and hopefully the building commissioner can confirm this, I'm confused about the map that I think it was Charlie had given us previously, showing all the dots where there's currently, well, the town, do we currently have a permitted use of oil drilling in the town of Amherst? Or gas drilling?
We do not have any zoning classification that allows that as a principal use.
So,
And I'm not aware of.
That's a lot of dots on there.
Yes, I'm not sure what that entails. I don't know if those are actual wells of some sort just for private use or something greater. I'm not aware of anything like that. I've worked for the town for 40 years and I've yet to see something like that.
Okay, so currently there is no permitted use. If somebody wanted to start drilling in the town of Amherst for oil or gas, there is no zoning classification with it, so which means that if somebody wanted to do that, they would have to come to you for determination of similar use. Is that correct?
Yes, I've reviewed all of the zoning classifications. There is no zoning classification at the present time that allows fracking as a permissible use. Now, our choices in that scenario, I can go under certain provisions of the zoning ordinance to allow what's known as a determination of similar use. But there's certain criteria that has to be met for me to make that determination. And it would be along the lines of finding another zoning classification that already exists, where this proposed use is similar to the other uses in any one of our zoning classifications. I've already gone through that exercise. I have determined that that is not the case. I could not make a determination of similar use. So what happens in that scenario is you take it to the next step. That would require a text amendment by the town board to amend the zoning ordinance in some way to allow fracking in one or more of our zoning classifications. So if somebody were to come to me today and say they wanted to start fracking, I would have to say it's not a permissible use.
Okay, and that's without any action by this town board this evening whatsoever, then there wouldn't be any fracking in the town of Amherst.
That's true, but I have been told over the years that if you have a otherwise legally permissible use and you don't include it in your zoning ordinance in some fashion, it may open yourself up to a lawsuit where you would have to include it. So there's that lingering notion out there that we might have to address it sooner or later.
Okay, fair enough. Are you done? I got several more comments. You want to count all these up there? Okay. Anyway, so as I said, so first off, as far as banning fracking, I would question whether it's really necessary since there is currently a moratorium in the state. There's probably not particularly economically viable to drill in the town of Amherst, and as the building commissioner just explained, there currently is no permitted use in the town of Amherst that would allow for drilling for gas or oil. And as such, I would say that it's probably not necessary. It makes as much sense as us sitting here and outlawing whaling or elephant hunting in the town of Amherst. The next issue was disposal of fracking waste at the water pollution control facility. I mean, Tom, you could speak on this again as the intern, as the town engineer. Our pollution control facility, water pollution control facility cannot handle the chemicals from the fracking waste. It would kill off the bacteria and destroy the entire process. We're not permitted by the DEC to accept the waste at our plant. And I mean, my primary concern would be more of people who would be illegally introducing the fracking waste into our system, which would cause damage to our plant. Therefore, any potential local law that we would pass, I would want to make sure that that addresses the illegal dumping, which is my biggest concern, rather than a potential that we want to take waste into a facility that can't handle it to begin with. Lastly was the issue of the brine. Once again, this is something you need a permit to use. The town of Amherst currently does not have a permit that would allow us to use brine. And as discussed at the work session this afternoon, the highway superintendent mentioned that he does have other materials that he uses when the temperature drops below 20 degrees and the salt isn't effective, but that those currently are, those are cheap and effective currently, and he's no interest in going for a DEC permit to use brine. So I would understand that somebody wanted to protect against the potential that the town would later try and get a DEC permit, but again, it seems to me unnecessary. I do have one more question for the town attorney. I mean, can we legally, I know that the county has already outlawed the use of the fracking waste on county roads. Can we ban the state from using it on state roads in the town of Amherst?
No, we don't have any control of the state.
So, I mean, anything that we pass would not necessarily protect those roads anyway. They could still be introduced, which brings up the bigger issue, which is this is a lot of energy spent on trying to get us to take an action, which I think is inevitable, having 4 out of the 5 of us already co-sponsoring resolutions in support of it. But it seems that if that same effort was pointed at the state, which is where we need to have the state ban fracking, we need to have the state outlaw the use of the fracking fluids on our roads. If this same kind of energy can be used at the state level, I would think it would be far more effective and a much better use of that energy. As such, I would make a motion to table this resolution until we can better understand these.
No.
Several other comments made. I just want to go back and restate what I said from the very, very beginning, which is that I am not a supporter of fracking, and I agree that all these issues are dangers in this town. And if this is symbolic, I think it's still kind of a waste of time. But I'm willing to support the symbolism of this and pass this resolution.